Hello, welcome to Liz at Home. Thanks so much for joining me. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're returning, thanks so much for coming back. I'm delighted to have you with me. Today I'm going to be doing a video showing my process as I color this picture from Angela Gonzalez, The Color of Fairies. I bought a PDF pack and I'm going to use various media. At the moment I've got some colores, they're called colores, K-O-L-O-R-E-S, pastel pencils, and then my Caran D'Ache Luminance pencils, and then I'm also going to be using some of my pastel shade Ohuhu markers, and then I'll be coloring on top of the markers with pencils, and then I use various things, and I haven't filmed everything, so I'm just going to show you a little bit here and a little bit there, and we'll get through to the end, and I hope you'll enjoy spending some time coloring. At the moment I'm just checking out my swatch sheet and trying to decide on colors. I do find choosing colors quite difficult, and it's sometimes fun to use the color palette to choose the colors, but this time I just decided to go with the flow and use whatever spoke to me. So this particular page is actually a buddy color that I'm doing with the wonderful Be Cozy. She's got a really lovely YouTube channel, and I'll link it at the bottom of this video in the more information in case you're interested. I'll also link this book both on Amazon and then the Etsy shop where I bought the PDF. So at the moment I'm just coloring the skin, and if you want to know the colors, I'm afraid I didn't actually take note of them, so I do apologize for that. I basically looked on my swatch chart and went with something that I wanted. This is not a realistic coloring, it's just going with the flow and enjoying myself. So I'm going to zoom onto where I'm coloring now, so that makes it a little bit easier to see. I haven't really used my luminance, my Caran D'Ache Luminance pencils very much at all, and I feel like they're a new pencil for me. I collected them over the past 4 or 5 years, and I just recently managed to get all the colors, so I feel excited to be using them. I love these little images. I think they're so cute, and so I'm just going with the skin colors at the moment. I'm always just a little bit worried when I print something, because sometimes the toner flakes off as you color, but luckily this paper that I've used seems to be fine and the tone is not flaking off. I sometimes use a Spring Hill cardstock that's recommended by Coloring Bliss because it's got a lot of tooth, but I find that when I print that on my home printer, the toner flakes off. I found that I used that to swatch these pencils, and it's a great paper if you really like doing lots and lots of layers. I don't always like doing lots and lots of layers. I enjoy getting things done more quickly. Sometimes I'll be in the mood to go with lots and lots of layers. How do you feel? Do you like coloring with lots and lots of layers when you use pencils, or do you enjoy using mixed media, or what is your preference? I'd love to hear from you. When I started filming this video, my plan was actually to make it a color along and take note of the names of the colors I was using, etc. But then I started having hassles with my camera, and my camera hadn't filmed everything, and so in the end I decided I would film bits and pieces and chat you through what I was doing, and you could sort of see the process of what I was doing and then see the finished image. So that's what I'm going with. I'd love to hear how you prefer coloring. Do you like doing one thing in particular or do you prefer doing mixed media like I'm doing? I change like the wind. I think that's part of my personality. So now I'm going with these Cores pencils. They're the pastel set. I quite like them. They're an inexpensive children's brand of pencil, actually, but I really enjoy doing them. I was also, as I was doing this, I was wondering, how would you guys feel? Would you like me to share my color pencil stash with you? I have more color pencils than I can actually mention, and I'm sometimes embarrassed about the number. But then I decided this is my hobby. I work hard to earn the money I earn when I do earn it. And if I choose to spend it on coloring supplies, then that's also okay. So I'm just going with that. So I've zoomed in a little bit so that you can see, and all I'm doing here is coloring each little section, very much just standard coloring, using a fairly hard, I wouldn't say as hard as if I was burnishing, but a fairly hard pressure to color, and it's covering up the white tooth of the paper quite well. So I'm just enjoying that process as I go, and I really sometimes just enjoy plain and simple coloring without trying to be too clever or too artistic. I've been struggling, I think I mentioned in my last video lately, with a little bit of, I wouldn't call it burnout, I just think busyness, doing so many things. I do many diverse things with the singing, teaching, and then trying to run the channel and looking after grandchildren and running my home and making food and all the things that are involved, and getting children ready for exams with the teaching, and there've been lots of Stedfords and a show running, and so lots and lots and lots of things to do. And so I felt the need of just de-stressing and coloring, which is sort of one of my main reasons for coloring, is to de-stress. So I always, that is also part of my nature, feel the need to apologize when I don't do something perfectly and when I feel it's not as good as everybody else. But I also look at my mental health and work on my mental health, and then I have to give myself some self-talk and say, it's okay, you can color like this. It's your YouTube channel. I hope people will enjoy watching it. It's my intention that they enjoy and that they can relax while watching, but maybe the people watching also need to hear the self-talk about be kind to yourself, enjoy what you're doing. It's okay to color for your mental health and just to fill in the blank spaces with color and rejoice in that process. So that's what I'm trying to do here. And I really hope that you enjoy that with me. Please comment below and let me know if you also sometimes just enjoy coloring like this, whether you have a channel or whether you color for yourself at home or whatever your process is. If you also enjoy coloring, or do you color for mental health? Do you color to help your anxiety? Do you color for chronic illness, to help yourself take your mind off pain? I'd love to hear from you, and feel free to share and let me know. And let me know if there's anything I can do to help you in any way. So now I'm going to move on to the next bit of this image and what my next process was. As you can see, I've finished the little girlie with all of her pinkness, and I've done the little boy fairy in his blueness, and I am doing a little bit of shading with the pencils and enjoying the process, actually, really enjoying the process. I found this whole thing quite relaxing. I tend to listen to audiobooks while I color, And now at the moment I'm doing a voiceover as I'm doing this because otherwise the picture would be too long. I wanted to mention that I said at the beginning that this was from an Etsy purchase, and these pictures just come as the image on the page. They don't come with a border. And I personally enjoy having a border around my image because, especially if I want to do a background to the image, I find just having a border really, it kind of helps me know where to put the background, and I enjoy doing that. So I actually uploaded this image, the image that I bought from Etsy, onto Canva. Canva is a photo editing software that works online, and it has both a free option and a paid option. I do subscribe to them because I use them often to do my thumbnails, but I uploaded this to Canva, and then I created the border around it on Canva, and then I saved that to my computer and printed it with the border. I thought of actually doing a video to show you how I did that in case you ever find yourselves wanting to do something like that. If you're interested in that, please let me know. I thought it might be something that could be interesting for you. So then I've also now just shaded along the edges here of the little boy fairy, and I am then going to move on to my next part of the process. So I've already finished the picture, and as you can see, I've done the background using an alcohol marker. This was my inexpensive touch markers, and this particular marker was busy running out. And I then decided I'm going to try and give a sort of diffused light effect by using some of my Faber Castell Gelatos, and I wanted to try scribbling little dots onto the page with them. This particular first one looks a little bit wonky, as if it's gone a bit off, but I'm just going to try scribbling it on some rough paper and see what happens. So you can see how I just scribble some dots onto the paper with this, and while I'm doing that, I'm going to put on a little bit of music for you. So as you can see, I'm just scribbling little circles around, and then I'm going to use a sponge to try and blend them together, and hopefully they look okay. But if they don't, then we're gonna come up with another plan. It's all part of the fun of I like doing things in a kind of intuitive way like this sometimes. So please don't see this as a tutorial. This is me playing and being a child and enjoying myself. I love the feeling of the gelatos on the paper. So now I'm going to add this sort of pretty turquoise, a bit more of it. I really like that. And then I'll get the sponge out. I think I'm going to move to with the sponge. So you can see I've added some yellow as well to try and lighten it. And now I have the sponge, and I'm using, it's just a makeup sponge, the same as we use for various things. And I'm using the wedge, the little square bit at the end to try and blend these in. And I must say I'm needing to use quite a lot of heavy pressure, and some of the gelato is not moving. So I'm probably going to have to come up with a different solution once I've done all of this. So I'm going to move to the end of doing this, and we'll see what we do next. Ha! So I've been working and nearly finished this now. All except the dark green, the one that I think is a little bit damaged, have blended quite nicely. So I'm going to try, I even tried using a little cotton, a cotton bud, we call them, to blend them in as well. But I'm now going to try using a paintbrush and just trying to dissolve some of that dark green so it doesn't stand out quite so much. And once I've done that and then left it to dry, it's also easier with the paintbrush to move some of the color in to the kind of finer areas which I found difficult to get to with that little foam wedge. I'm also, as I'm looking at it like this, deciding that I want more of the turquoise. So I'm going to use this water to dissolve as much as I can. And then I'm going to go in with some more of that turquoise green and use the little trick of scribbling with the gelatos on my Caran D'Ache Aquarelle. I can't remember what it's called, but it's that little slab of plastic, and then using some brushes to dry brush certain areas and see if that gives it the effect I want. So bear with me and we'll see what happens once I'm going to complete this whole bit with water, but I'm sure you don't need to watch that. And then we'll try the last ditch effort to getting this picture looking nice. Hold thumbs and let's see how it turns out. Okay, so I have my Caran D'Ache palette Aquarelle. I remembered what it was called. And I've got this sort of turquoise gelato. And then I'm going to try the pale blue as well, because I think that's maybe the color that I want more than the turquoise. And I've got these lovely little brushes that I bought on Amazon. And I like them because they come in colors. I will also link them below in case you're interested. They work very nicely, and they've got three sizes. So this is the larger size, but so they're great. You can actually get in the smaller areas. So this is covering a little bit. Just sort of blending it all out a bit so those dots don't stand out too much. I don't mind the dots. It's slightly bokeh looking. Bokeh, B-O-K-E-H, bokeh effect is the thing, and it's not quite, but it's kind of the diffused light kind of feeling that I want. I can erase the bit that's outside the border, and I'm just going to keep going with this and see how we do, and then change to the other color as well. I just needed to shake off some of the crumbs these gelatos are very crumbly. I don't know if it's because they're a bit old or if they always were crumbly. I actually can't remember. So now it's actually looking, I think, a lot better with this going on, and I think it will look even better when I add some of the other colors. So I won't do scribbling the dots on the paper again. That was probably a slightly silly idea. I've done some outlining of when I colored a lot of it in the Ohuhu markers, the pastel markers, and then I did some outlining in some glitter, not really glitter, the pearlescent watercolor paints. So I'll show you at the end so you can see the sparkly bits. So it actually in real life looks quite nice, although I'm not sure that I'm pleased I went with the green background. Tell me what you think. I suppose I'm always my worst critic. You can't help kind of second guessing yourself, but I had a lot of fun coloring this picture, so I think that's what it's all about. I'm just needing to find my little blue brush in the box, because I'm trying to keep the brushes to the color that I'm using, and then maybe I don't have to spend so many hours trying to clean them. I don't know who discovered this whole way of doing the dry brushing of gelatos and gel crayons first, but it really is the best technique for applying them. Scribbling some more on, and I'm very pleased to be doing this because I do like to use my art supplies. You can see all the crumbles there. I'm just adding them to the brush and hoping that they'll sort of melt as I brush, as I use the brush, if I use some pressure on it. I'm going to need to use the smaller brush to get close to the hair, but I just wanted to fill this bit in there. Now I think going to the smaller brush and seeing if that, you can see how tiny this little brush is. It's really great because you can get right up to the edges. And my border that I printed is already, the toner is already starting to peel off. So that's the one thing with printing from PDF things. I often rather go down to, we've got a place called PostNet near us where you can print things, and they've got these large professional printers, and so when they print them, then nothing peels off or flakes off. But sometimes I just want the convenience of not having to go out. It can be a bit of a, I don't know, a word I use is schlep, a bit of a thing to like have to go out just to print something. I've become spoilt with having things delivered at home. We've been talking with a lot of things, COVID and all the having to stay at home and everything to do with it was a really difficult and trying and frightening time for so many of us. But it did have some positives, and one of them was the learning to use far more home deliveries and not having to use so much petrol. We call it petrol. I think Americans call it gas. I'm not sure what the Brits call it. Probably also petrol, because we seem to have got our words from most of the British things. What do Australians and New Zealanders call it? Do you call it gas or petrol or fuel or whatever for your car? So, I mean, having things delivered, somebody is driving somewhere, but it's, if one had more things delivered and went out less often, then there would be less cars on the road. I know that it would be best to use public transport, but in South Africa, that's not always an option. Our public transport is unbelievably unreliable and often very dangerous. So, yeah, we often have to drive, or we Uber. Uber's quite big in our country. So I think I'm going to Now I also use a little bit of yellow. I've decided to speed up this next little bit because I think this video is going to be unbelievably long. So quickly, let's color it and zoom through it and get it done. The yellow is brightening things up. Just shows you can always salvage a piece that looked like it was not going to work so well. And I think we've nearly finished the piece. And I'd love to know what you think. I hope that you haven't found this video too long. I've quite enjoyed making it, and I hope that it's something that's kind of enjoyable and maybe a little bit helpful for you. So do let me know what you think, please. But so I think we're done. So I wonder if you can see the shine. I'm trying to get it on my, yes, you can see some nice little shiny bits. I'm not very good with getting the shiny showing, but I hope that you can see that, and I hope that you enjoyed spending this time with me and that you enjoyed seeing the process of my coloring this page. So thanks, B, for doing a buddy color with me, and I hope that you like how my page turned out. Bye-bye now, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful, colorful, happy week. Bye-bye now.